You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 330, Why You Still Feel Sad About Your Breakup. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, beautiful brave hearts. How is everyone doing? I am so excited to be here with you today. I wanted to talk about a recent coaching call that I had inside of the Get Over Your Ex program. It was really fun. We celebrated a lot actually in that call, but I felt like there was some coaching related content that I felt would be really appropriate and really good for anyone listening into the podcast to know about and work on as well. So let's spend a little bit of time together chit-chatting about it. I am so pumped to be here. So this amazing, beautiful woman actually had just joined the Get Over Your Ex program, and her ex has told her for about 2-ish years that he does not want to be in a relationship with her. Now they have a child together, and so they see each other and coordinate a lot with that. But what happened this week was that she was at work and she was sent an email, and that email was from her ex talking about how he's going to start the filing process for divorce paperwork. And so hard, right? And what she said to me though was like really crazy, because she goes, it's been so long and I've known that this is coming. I shouldn't be sad about this still. Like I should have worked through this already. But she mentioned, she was like, I couldn't work. I couldn't focus on that. I haven't been able to like sit still and just be myself or relax ever since I got that email. And I think what really struck me was, knowing what I know about her and her past, I had the complete opposite reaction to that. Not that I wasn't, upset for her, but I had a complete opposite reaction in the fact that I was like, girl, of course you were sad. She was saying like, why am I sad? I shouldn't be sad about this anymore. I've known it's been coming for 2 years. Why am I so sad about this? I shouldn't be. And my opposite reaction to that was like, of course you were sad about this. Of course you were. You were sad and disappointed about it. And she had mentioned to me, she doesn't even know what her future looks like without him. And I'm like, girl, of course. This specific individual has been with him for like ever, like 20 plus years. So she grew up with him. She doesn't even know, like we don't have any idea. The brain has literally nothing to compare it to. She's never been without him. And she's been, of course, like secretly hoping that things work out, hence why she didn't file the paperwork in the first place, right? So in my mind, I am like, of course you feel sad. Of course you feel disappointed and completely heartbroken over this. And it's derailed everything. And I think too often we do this to ourselves, where we have a very clean pain, honestly, a necessary and normal and very human experience of pain, sadness, loss, discouragement, disappointment. And then we compound that pain and we layer it with what I call dirty pain by saying, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should be over this already. And that shoulding adds a layer of shame and extra pain, what we call dirty pain. We've got an entire episode on clean pain versus dirty pain. But that very resistance to what is happening in our reality and what we are feeling is the part that slows down our healing journey. Okay? So having radical acceptance of what is so important. And then knowing how to handle and move through and allow those clean pain emotions is the foundation of the rest of the work you have to do when getting over your ex and building a life that is better than the one that you had with them. It kind of reminds me of my Pilates journey. Okay. I'm starting a new thing for myself, but being postpartum, my core and my pelvic floor is a disaster. I'm just going to be really real here with you. Maybe some other women will get this, but just needs a lot of work. And I was trying to do it at home by myself, but I couldn't tell if I was doing it right. And so I started private Pilates classes. And we're doing these exercises that seem so simple, like so simple, like just these pelvic tilts. We're laying there and it's so subtle. You don't even see my body move, but I'm so sore from them. But what I love about it is me doing it the correct way and getting guidance and assistance and making sure that I am really building a solid foundation means that all of the rest of my Pilates journey from this point is going to be so much easier because I built a foundation that I know is correct, that I know is going to get me where I want to go, that is solid. So that as things get more complex, it's going to be so much easier. And that's how I feel about this emotional resilience, emotional maturity, learning how to feel and experience negative emotions. Is like when you work with a coach, when you work with someone who's an expert in emotional healing and learning how to feel feelings, and you find acceptance around your emotional heartbreak, that is going to give you such a solid foundation that will make everything so much easier and so much faster. Allowing yourself to feel the feelings that you have without shame, when you learn how to do that correctly and feel confident in your ability to handle any negative emotion in your life, you're off to the races. That's when it becomes significantly easier to build a relationship with yourself, create closure, build a life that's bigger and better than the one that you had with your ex. Because when you have that solid foundation of feelings and emotional maturity and knowing what to do and how to sit with negative emotion and not react, not resist, not avoid those emotions, baby, girlfriend, girly pop, that is when the world is your oyster. Okay? That's when it gets so good because you're willing to go after hard things. You're willing to feel the negative emotions that are associated to the journey and the outcome. And you don't make negative emotions mean something about yourself. God, doesn't that sound delicious? It's so freaking good. So my client that I was talking to in this coaching call for this week, just for 7 days, her first week inside of Get Over Your Ex, her only assignment is to allow for and have radical acceptance about her true feelings and experience. All right. And this is how she's doing this in a tangible way. You guys know me. I love next steps, how-tos. What's the how? What are we doing? She's going to carry around her notebook, making note of one-word feelings. A lot of times I ask you guys what you're feeling and you give me sentences, which is great because that gives me insight into the thoughts that are creating the feelings. But it's really important that we get used to describing emotions for what they are. They are one-word emotions or feelings. So making note of that one-word feeling, disappointment, discouraged, heartbreak, loss, pain, whatever it is, and then the thought or the story that's tied to that feeling. Not to change it. We just want to look at it and see what is the story, what is the thought creating that feeling, because thoughts create feelings, right? And then we're going to write down after that, we're going to say, of course I feel this way. And that is perfect. Period. End of sentence. And then next week, we're going to work on what to do with those emotions to transmute them and move through them to feel differently. Right? That's what I'm going to be working on with her next week inside of the program. But the first step is just awareness of them and being accepting of them so that we don't create compound dirty pain that is not necessary or required. It's just undue suffering that pulls us back, that drags things out, that makes things more difficult and makes it take longer. So if this is something that you're really struggling with, I want to invite you to participate this week with her and do this exercise, right? Carry around your own feelings notebook and get clear about what one-word emotions am I experiencing, why, the thought and the story that you're believing that creates it, not to change it, but just to know and then have radical acceptance about it. And then ending that by physically writing out and telling yourself, of course, I feel this way, and that's perfect. All right. I love you, my beautiful brave hearts. I hope you're having an amazing week, and I will talk to you next time. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.